Here's 13 lessons that I learned after becoming a successful creator that I wish I had known earlier. And the first one is you will regret not starting sooner. If you want to start a TikTok account, if you have these ideas that you want to post about and you want to create content about, do it. Post the video, create the account. It doesn't even matter if you don't know yet, you just know I want to be a creator, then post about anything, but just start. Because you will regret it. You will look back years from now, maybe after you do start, and say, man, if I had only done it sooner. And I can tell you from my experience, like I've been a very successful business owner. I've got this 2 Comma Club award here. And my biggest regret through the first 10 years of my business was that I did not create content. To take it a step further, I didn't have as hard of a time getting started on TikTok, but I wanted to start a YouTube channel for years. I literally thought about it and planned it for 4 to 5 years before I ever published that first video. And I was scared about, was it the right thing? Did I understand how it all worked? Like I wanted to grow fast and I just delayed it. And I wish I had started 4 or 5 years sooner, especially now because creating content on TikTok and on YouTube has been the best decision that I've made in the last year and a half. I have had so much growth, like all that resistance to posting on YouTube. I was able to go from 0 to 30,000+ subscribers in a year. And I just think about it and go, well, what if I had started sooner? What if I had done this earlier when I first planned about it? How many mistakes would I have made? How many things would I have learned? How much farther along would I be? How much more money would I be making from the channel? So if this is something you want to do, take the leap. Just do it. If you have videos that are sitting in your drafts right now, post them. It doesn't matter. The worst that can happen is you get 200 views. Everybody gets those 200 views. But it's okay because you're not going to have it all figured out at first. You're not going to be good at creating the content at first. But if you don't start, no amount of theory or understanding how things work actually will help you. You have to get your hands dirty. You have to be a practitioner. You have to post videos that flop and eventually post a video that does well to really start to see the matrix and know what you need to do. Lesson number 2, do not wait for permission. If you have something that you want to create content about, do it. I understand it is scary to make that jump and to put your face on camera and to share your opinions publicly where people can disagree with you and they can criticize you. And you might even be feeling like the thing that you want to talk about, like you're not even sure if you're qualified to create content on that. I get it, but that's just imposter syndrome. And that's something that everyone deals with. And if you have something that you're excited about or that you've accomplished for yourself and you want to put that message out into the world, you need to. And you don't need to be an expert in order to do it. If you can share something that you know and you know a little bit better than somebody else, maybe you're 1 or 2 steps ahead of someone else, then there are people there that are going to want to hear from you and they are going to want to learn from you. And this imposter syndrome thing never goes away. You will deal with it your entire career as a creator or as a business person. It never goes away because it's just kind of how we're wired. When we get into something new, we wonder like, can I do this? Should I do this? And I can tell you from over a decade of experience, having basically gone through this process of learn, do, teach over and over and over and building multiple businesses on it, you can't listen to that inner voice. You have to just make that jump. When I was in law school, I went through this big weight loss transformation. And when I came back in my second year of law school, I had a lot of people asking me like, hey, how did you do it? And I started giving advice and helping people out. And I had people that wanted to like hire me to coach them. I thought to myself, you know what? I have all this student debt. Maybe this is something I could do. And I wasn't sure. I didn't have, the PT certifications and all of that kind of stuff. I knew what I had done and it worked for me. And so I started helping people with that and eventually built a very successful business out of it. And the way I turned it into a successful business was because I started running Facebook ads and I would get people on the phone and I would sell and they would give me their credit card and I would coach them and they would get results. Then eventually these other fitness coaches were like, hey, you're not even one of us. You're not even in the community. You're not posting all this content. Like, how are you doing this? And so I started running ads from them. And then from there, after I built my agency over the years and I left my legal career behind, I had a lot of people asking about that. Built a course teaching people how to start in digital marketing, and we did 7 figures in the first year selling that course. And now here I am teaching you how to use TikTok, how to grow on TikTok after trying and failing and then growing really quickly and then taking what I learned and sharing it with my clients and getting them results, you will never be ready. You will always feel like an imposter. But if you have something valuable to give and it's what you want to do, then ignore them and just do it. And don't worry about what anybody else says. You have the vision, you know what you want, and you need to trust that. The other side of this imposter syndrome thing is that fear of judgment from the people around you, whether it's a friend or family member, and you make the leap and you start posting this content and they're like, you're creating videos about what? Like you're a TikToker? And guess what? You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission. People aren't going to understand. When I left my legal career after just 1 year to pursue my online business full time, my family didn't understand. My friends didn't understand. I'd gone through all these years of school and had this great career and I was leaving it behind. Like it didn't make sense to people. And so you might get judgment, but the reality is it doesn't even matter. They don't even have to know that you're doing this because you don't have to tell them. And the great thing about TikTok is you can go into the settings and you can turn off and make it so that your content does not get shared to your contacts or your Facebook friends or anything like that. And you could essentially post in secret and learn how to do this thing and blow up. And then after you have the following and you're making the money and nobody can say that it's silly, then you can let them know. Lesson number 3 is that you need to embrace failure and you need to focus on the habit of creating videos instead of the views and the followers. The biggest thing that holds people back after the imposter syndrome and the, what others will think about you is the fear of failure. And the reality is you are going to fail as a content creator and you're going to fail more often than not as a TikTok creator. You're going to feel like you're in 200 view jail and you might even have a video that doesn't get 200 views. And it's going to be really frustrating because that's what everyone goes through. You have to take those knocks and learn the lessons, and you have to practice the skill and become a good creator before the views will come. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you focus on the habit of creating and making it part of your life and don't worry so much about the views, like that is going to pay off because you're going to have that consistency and you're going to start to notice patterns and you're going to start to learn over time through the mistakes that you make. And we all know this. We know that failure is part of learning because we see it in our life all the time. I have little kids. I see them try to learn how to ride a bicycle and they fall over and they might scrape their knee and cry and be frustrated and say they're never going to do this again. But then 5 minutes later, they're back there on the bike trying to learn it. And I even watching my nephew who just started taking his first steps. Like when a baby is learning to walk, they fall over, they hit their heads on things, they cry, but they don't ever stop trying to walk. They don't care. They don't think about the failure. It's just that as we become adults and we start doing things, we worry about judgment from other people and we want it to be perfect and we want to be really good at things right out of the gate. And you can't. You have to practice. So instead of getting frustrated because you're not getting the results right away and then quitting, just know going into it that like I'm going to post videos and they're not going to do very well. And what I need to do is instead of getting frustrated, I need to say, okay, why did my video get 200 views, but this other creator that did a similar video got 50,000 views? Like what did they do different? And you're just kind of guessing. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to test things, but pick something from their video that you think they did better than you and try to improve upon that in your next video. And just keep repeating this process. And if you just accept the failures and you keep repeating that process of trying something new, trying to improve, then eventually your videos are going to hit. And then as more videos hit, you're going to understand what the commonalities are, like what are the trends or the things that are making those ones work, and you're going to be able to do more of it, and eventually you're going to fail a lot less. Number 4, show up every day. Getting views on TikTok is not this mysterious thing. Most of the time, the best video, the one that people enjoy the most, engage with the most, and watch for the longest is going to get pushed. But TikTok also rewards consistency. So if you show up for 3 to 4 weeks and you post every single day, you will see an increase in your views. One, you're going to get better. You're going to practice. You're going to see what's working, what's not working. You're going to be observing what's happening on the platform to get more ideas. But then also, you're going to get that little bump for being consistent, okay? Consistency is super important. And that's also why a lot of times I see it in the comments on these videos where people say, oh, I was getting 10,000 views, 20,000 views every single video, and then I didn't post for 3 months, or I didn't post for a year, I didn't post for whatever amount of time, and now I'm only getting 200 views. Well, you demonstrated to the algorithm that you're not consistent, that you are not a reliable creator. And so you're kind of starting back at square one. And maybe the content that you were creating a year ago isn't as good as the content that's being created today. And so that's why you're not getting the results anymore. But the bottom line is show up every day. Post a video every day. Do whatever you need to do to make it easier on yourself, whether that's batch creating content or having videos ready to go. Whatever works for you, just make sure that you're showing up every day. And one of the things that I've learned that makes it easier to be consistent and to show up is to understand why you're creating content in the first place. And I don't know if this is going to land with everybody. I know that a lot of times when, I would be listening to people talk about business. They're like, you have to know your why. Like, that's how you motivate yourself. That's how you have the discipline, all of those kind of things. And I never really bought into that, but it's something that definitely resonates with me as a content creator, because one of the reasons that I wanted to start creating content was because I viewed it as business life insurance. You'll remember earlier that I said, like, one of my biggest regrets was that I did not create content early on. I had a lot of reasons to. I was busy with school and a job and raising kids, being a stay-at-home dad, all of those kind of things, and taking care of clients. But, I wish I had done it. And one of the big reasons that I wished I'd done it was because I had a period like 1 week where I lost 2 clients that I never thought would leave me at my agency, and both of them left for various reasons. One of them shut his business down, for example. And when they left, I lost $15,000 per month in revenue. Like that. I ended up recovering from it, and I've always kind of told my wife, like, hey, worst case scenario, I have to go back and be a lawyer, but we won't have to do that, because if I lost everything, give me 90 days, I'll hustle my face off and I'll be able to pay our bills and kind of rebuild the business in some way. And I believe that, and I've done it at times. But what I started to realize as I got older and the kids got older and I had more going on was like, man, it would be a lot easier if I had an audience, and if I lost clients, instead of having to hustle my face off, I could just make an offer, right? And I could get some sales, get some new clients from my audience. And so that was a big reason why I decided, hey, I got to start creating content. I need to start building my email list, start building my social media following. That way I have this life insurance policy for my business that's going to make it easier for me to stay consistent and, provide for my family. And so that has made it a little bit easier to, it's still not perfect, but it's made it easier to consistently create videos for y'all and to make this part of my life, even with everything else that I have going on. Now, the 6th lesson that I've learned, this one was kind of crazy to me. I would not have thought this, but I've realized that if you are not motivated or you don't have ideas, you need to go consume content. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh,
be a creator, not a consumer.
And I think there's some truth to that, because a lot of people get sucked into watching videos like this instead of just starting that TikTok account. And so you don't want to get into that loop. But I've found that your ability to create, you have like a battery, okay? And so I got this empty bottle here. And so your battery's full and you can create, but you're draining the battery, and eventually you lose motivation, you get frustrated, you stop coming up with ideas. And so you have to recharge the battery. And the way you recharge the battery is by consuming content to get ideas. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be content inside of your niche. It can be content in other places. Like, I like watching productivity content. I like watching sports content. I like watching all kinds of different things. And so sometimes I'll be watching a video about something totally different, but it will make me come up with an idea. It will inspire me to create a video. This video is a perfectly good example of that. I was watching one that was like things that I wish I'd known in my 20s or whatever. You guys have seen those kind of videos, and I was like, I can apply this. And so you have to consume in order to be inspired to create and for your mind to make those connections. So when you're stuck, go watch some videos. Lesson 7 is that if you want to grow fast, choose a niche. And I know that there's a lot of controversy and differing opinions about niching down or being the niche and building your personal brand and all of those kind of things. And I've just seen time and time again on TikTok and a lot of other platforms that if you are not a well-known personal brand to begin with, or don't get lucky to go, super viral like the Hawk Tuah girl, whatever, you are going to have a hard time growing if you don't have a niche, because the algorithm is trying to figure out who to show your content to. And if your content is about all kinds of different things, it can't learn. And it's not going to put your content in front of the right people, which means they're not going to stop scrolling. They're not going to watch it for a long time. But when you niche down and you choose a topic and that is what you talk about in, if not all, at least most of your videos, then the algorithm goes, okay, I get it. Mike is teaching people how to grow on TikTok. So people that watch TikTok growth content or other social media growth content, I need to show them his videos because they're going to be the people that are actually going to watch that stuff. And so once you do that and your content starts being shown to the right people, you naturally start to get a lot more views. And where the personal brand element comes in that allows you to like really build this loyal audience is that when you're teaching something or you're sharing your knowledge or expertise, like you need to show your personality and your unique perspective. And that is how, like kind of me sharing stories in this video, you're getting to know me, right? And so some of you might not like that. Some of you might not like the way I teach. Some of you might not be able to relate to these stories and you're gonna go, and that's fine. But there's others of you that you're really going to connect with this and it's going to feel different to you than other creators. And so you are going to follow and you're going to keep coming back and watching more of my videos. And that's what you want to create. So choose a niche so you can grow faster, but still make sure that you're sharing your personality and your opinions. That way people can make like a real connection with you and you can start to build that tribe. Now, the other lesson that I've learned that helped me to grow faster is that you need to obsess over outliers. At the very beginning of this video, I just said, hey, start posting. It doesn't matter what you post, just start posting. But once you start to get momentum, it's a good idea to really dig into like what is already working in your niche. You can turn your entire feed into a research tool where when you're looking at videos, don't just watch random videos. Watch videos that are related to the type of content that you create. And then the ones that aren't related, you can like press on it and you can say, I'm not interested, and eventually curate that For You page into this amazing research tool. And then what you want to do is you just want to like look for the videos that have really big views and then click on that person's profile and go look at it and say, okay, is this an outlier? Do they always get 100,000 views because they're this monster creator, or are they somebody that has 1,000 followers and they normally only get 500 to 1,000 views, but this video got 100,000 views? And when you see those outliers, that is an indicator that like this works, and you want to obsess over those things and you want to make your own versions of those videos and figure out why they work. That way you can increase your chances of having success. And a lot of people avoid this, but this is what we do in like everything in life. If you think about the great painters, they all started by studying the masterpieces. And like you probably did this too as a kid when you were in an art class, right? You start by looking at the masters and what they did and learning those techniques and practicing those techniques and trying to do a portion of that or do a painting in that style. And eventually you become so skilled at whatever techniques from all of the masters that you're able to develop your own techniques and you're able to create your own masterpiece. That's how the greats do it. And that's the process you should take into your content creation as well. Don't try to make it up. Mimic the people that are having success. Mimic only the successful videos. And if you do that long enough, if you spend that 3 to 4 weeks posting every day, but you're only creating your versions of an outlier where you're mimicking the successful video, putting your own spin on it, changing it to fit your niche, whatever it may be, you're gonna learn and figure out what works. And that's going to allow you, that way when you have the ideas, you have the inspiration, you're going to see how to package it, how to make it a great video. Now, when you start doing this, the other lesson that you have to learn is that you should not try to be somebody else. You might have a creator or creators that you really look up to, that you love their content. Maybe that even inspired you to become a content creator. And so early on, you're going to mimic maybe their successful videos or what they're doing, their style, because that's what inspired you and that's what you look up to and that's what you want. But over time, you need to develop your own style. You need to let your own personality come out. You need to take bits and pieces that you like from different people and start adapting and creating your own thing. So let me give you an example of like how I thought through this and developed my style both for YouTube and TikTok. So when I got started, I kind of knew there were things that I did not want to do and there were things that I did want to do. And I thought about like what what can I bring that's unique? And so one of the things I realized I didn't want to do is have like all the crazy retention editing and kind of like the surface level content that might get good engagement and get good watch time, but it's not filling. Like I know when I watch content and I feel like somebody's hiding the ball or I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it, like I didn't like that content. And so I wanted to go really deep and give a lot of detail because that was what I was seeking in content when I was trying to figure out YouTube growth or TikTok growth, what have you. And so for me, I was like, I'm not going to make it flashy. I'm just going to be a teacher. I'm a teacher and I'm going to try and provide the most in-depth, actionable, like step-by-step systematic guides and advice that I possibly can. Now, one of the things that I did want is like, I wanted there to be some humor in the videos. And the problem is that I don't feel natural just being like the funny haha guy telling jokes. Like I'm a teacher. When I'm creating content, I tend to lean into just presenting the information. And not everybody's like that. Some of my favorite creators, their content is so dang funny. And I don't know if it's natural or if they script it or whatever it was, but I was like, that's not me. That's going to make things harder. So I'm not going to do it. But when I started creating these videos and my man Hudson started editing them for me, like we really tried to inject humor through the editing and the clips. And sometimes maybe I say something, but he does a good job of helping me add that element. And I think it strikes a good balance. And we didn't figure this out right away. We started by just posting content and we would mimic the people that I admired or were very successful. And I would try to do my version of it. And over time we would say, okay, hey, this works. Let's do more of that. Or let's change this. And eventually you just kind of get to where you have your own thing. The next lesson I wish I had learned earlier, and I think most people need to learn, is that you need to stop blaming the algorithm. And maybe this fit a little bit better when I was talking about like the outliers and stuff, because I think a lot of times we go, okay, hey, here's an outlier video. It worked really well for somebody. And then I post it and I didn't go viral and you get frustrated, or the frustration in general with the 200 view jail. Like it's not the algorithm's fault. It's your fault. It's that your content, like the idea is not good enough. Or even if you're using a proven idea, like you are using an outlier, maybe your delivery is not as good, you're not as engaging, maybe you didn't package it as well. There's something that you did that did not get people to stop scrolling and to watch the video and to watch a lot of the video, right? And so we have to take that on ourselves. We have to say, okay, embrace that failure. I didn't get the results, even if I used a proven idea. Like it didn't do as well as like that original one did. So what's the difference? What can I learn from that? And we have to have that approach, because if you don't and you just blame the algorithm, you're not going to have results. It's the same as like I've had a couple of people this week in the comments that are like, yeah, TikTok's rigged. They're always saying like, hey, do you want to boost this post? And like, you got to pay to get views. And no, that's not true. You don't have to pay to get views. Every single platform on the planet wants you to boost your posts and to pay for stuff. And that's an option. You can go do that if you want. But like TikTok, there's so much potential to get this big reach. And so if you want to have limiting beliefs, like the algorithm hates you, you're in 200 view jail, or you have to pay to play, then that's fine. You can sit on the sidelines and never get results and pout, or you can just realize it's all within your control and it's all about what you create, and you can just put yourself out there and put in the work and let all those people sit on the sidelines and have all of the success. Like which group do you want to be in? Speaking of the algorithm, lesson 11, you need to do a better job of packaging your videos. A lot of times people are like, hey, I posted this video, I post content that's similar to like other people and they're getting really great views and like my retention is awesome. Like I had 55% of people, people watch 55% of the video or whatever, and they're like not understanding why they're not getting the views. And number one, most of the time, the retention number is not as impressive as they think it is. But the other thing is that there's something that happens that's not really a metric, you can't really measure, that happens before the retention that's killing your views. And that's that people are not, they're swiping past your video. And so think about TikTok's delivering you 200 views as your sample audience to see how your video performs, and then if it performs better than most people's, like they're going to push it and they're going to give you more views. Well, a view is more than just like your video showing up in somebody's feed. A view is like they stopped and watched it. And so how many people did they have to show your video to before you had 200 people watch at least a second or 2 seconds or whatever it is of your video? Was it 250 people? Was it 300 people? Was it 1,000 people? And so if you're not getting people to stop scrolling and actually watch your video, then the rest does not matter. And so the way that we fix that is with packaging, right? It's with our hooks, it's with our ideas, making it something that people are really interested in. And a very, very simple way that you can get people to stop scrolling is just adding text on screen, creating like a headline or a title that you put at the very top of your video, above your head when you post it at the very beginning. That way people can see it as they're scrolling. Their mind reads it, processes it really fast, goes, okay, this is something I'm interested in. And now they stop. Now you've got a chance. And so just that one simple change can have such a big impact on your views. And I wish I had known that way earlier. Lesson number 12 is that if you're going to be a creator, you should learn about copywriting. You should study copywriting. And if you don't know what that is, it's like, how do you write words that sell or words that grab attention? And I think one of the best things I had going for me as a creator is that I had all this business experience and I understood copywriting, and email marketing and those kind of things. And like, especially learning about how to write good subject lines that people open for email marketing. That can be so helpful for you creating those headlines, getting people to stop and watch your video, because there's a lot of theory behind it. Like if you can hit on people's pain points, if you can make them curious, or, like those are the big things. Those are the two things I would focus on, is like call out who it's for and the problem they have or the result they want to get, and make them curious in some way. That way they stop and they have to watch. If you can master that, you're going to get way bigger views. And so it's worth watching some YouTube videos about copywriting, or watching some TikTok creators about copywriting, or doing it the old school way, reading some newsletters, like those kind of things. I think it's probably the most valuable skill that you can develop outside of just the practice of making videos. And then the final lesson, this is one that I probably learned the most recently, and it's that you need to make before you manage. And I heard this concept from a video with Tim Ferriss, and he was talking about like productivity and how he's not the most efficient person. Like he wastes a lot of time and he's lazy, but he's able to achieve all of these crazy things. And it's because he has high efficacy, which means he focuses on the right things that move the needle. And one of the concepts that he taught about improving your efficacy so you can be more productive and hit your goals was making before you manage. And it's this idea that you have 60 minutes in your day before you have to do anything else. And so for somebody like me that has 2 online businesses, and I work from home, and I have a family, and I'm taking care of clients, and I have employees, and I'm trying to create content, I'm trying to juggle all of those things, it's really easy to push content to the side and to go fight fires for my clients or take care of something in the business, do anything else beyond content creation. It sometimes feels like I'm trying to rush that in at the end. And what he was saying is like, you have to make before you manage. You have to take time to create something for yourself and to create that content before you go about hitting up your email inbox and managing your day and your job and all of those kind of things. That has been super impactful, and it's making it easier for me to be a creator, because I'm just thinking to myself when I get up in the morning, like, oh, I got to go, check all these client messages, and I got to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, hey, if I do that at 8 o'clock and I spend from 7 to 8, and I go create something, I go do something for myself, like nobody's going to be mad about it. It's not a big deal. And you might not have that luxury. You might have a career, you're doing this on the side, but the same thing can apply. When you get home from work, you can make before you manage, before you Netflix, before whatever it is. Like you can take that time for yourself, and you're going to be glad that you did. Now, if you like this video and you want to learn more about growing on TikTok and starting an online business, I hope you'll subscribe. And then I want you to watch this video. Very similar in concept, but very different in the lessons and tips that I shared. I made that one over a year ago. And if you like this one, I really think you're going to like that one too.